In Russian terms, the Penza region is just a short hop from Moscow. Around 650 kilometers southeast and only an hour's plane journey away, it's an area that any traveller should explore. The capital Penza is home to more than 500,000 people, and although it's a modern city with a thriving business and cultural scene, there are plenty of nods to its past dotted around the streets.
So this is where the history of Penza began. Back in 1663, it was founded as a frontier town, and the very first wooden buildings went up right here.
In fact, much of the region still consists of forest, and if you're interested in seeing some of its best preserved historical sites, you just need to head out to the countryside.
Back in the early 19th century, these grounds were the home of the famous Russian poet Mikhail Lermontov. Now, you can see it's all very picture postcard snowy, but that does mean that it's extremely chilly. So I'm going to try and find somewhere to get out of the cold.
Lermontov is widely regarded as Russia's second greatest poet after Alexander Pushkin, and he lived on this estate until he was 12 years old. Nowadays, it's preserved as a museum to his life and times. And that means you're going to bump into plenty of contemporary characters.
Traditional handicrafts. I think I should be getting quite good at this sort of stuff by now. Let's see.
These little rag dolls were given as presents for birthdays, christenings and weddings, and each one has her own individual outfit. Each doll is supposed to ward away the evil eye from its maker, but according to the ladies here, there are certain attributes that are particularly important.
Now let's take women's pride breasts and tie them under the neck.
Here's my little completed dolly, and apparently, the larger the breasts of the doll, the more love and tenderness you will have in your home. So I'm quite fortunate to have quite a well-endowed girl here.
Once I'd finished my needlework, my hostess introduced me to the rest of her hard-working family. But it seems they have an open house policy here.
Hello. Welcome. Glad to see you. It's a holiday today. We can't celebrate without dancing.
And soon, a few more guests turned up for some fun and games.
Just your traditional 19th century afternoon sing-along.
They certainly go out of their way to make you feel welcome. And if you're looking for some more period drama, just take a walk through the main house.
See, now, a good country dance is great for warming the cockles and all, but I think that our Mr. Lermontov probably was used to something a little more elegant.
I might not have been appropriately dressed, but my hostess Yelena was kind enough not to comment. And after I'd been introduced to the local high society, she whisked me off to the dance floor. I knew that poor Mr. Lermontov had met his end in a duel, so I was definitely on my best behaviour. Unfortunately, I was able to finish my waltz with my dignity and Yelena's toes still intact.
Yelena, спасибо вам.
Thank you very much, Yelena.
Thank you. We'll be glad to see you here again.
Yeah.
And me too.
How utterly charming.
And just outside the gates of the estate, there was even some period transport available.
So sadly, it's time to get back to the 21st century, but at least I can leave the 19th in an authentic fashion. Home de far, don't spur the horse.
Unfortunately for me, unlike cars, horses get tired, and I was dropped off still a fair distance from Penza. It was time to get hiking.
It feels like I've been walking for ages, and I'm absolutely parched. I'm even quite tempted to start eating some of this snow. But hopefully, I think I might be able to find something better than that around here. With a bit of luck, I think this might be the place. Fingers crossed. Can't say I like low, long, dark tunnels very much. But that sound, and this stuff, tells me I'm definitely heading in the right direction.
And it turned out I was right.
Hello.
Hello.
Are these the Kuvaka Springs?
Yeah, this is Kuvaka Springs.
I found the Kuvaka Springs. Fantastic.
Could I have a drink, please?
Sure.
This underground water source was discovered almost 100 years ago, and it's been bottled here ever since.
This water has many useful properties. It needs no prior treatment before it goes into food products. From here, the water drifts towards a plant. No pumps are used to bring it up there.
When Tsar Nicholas II was still on the Russian throne, this was Kuvaka's production line. Each bottle filled, labelled and sealed by hand before being locked away in a trunk for delivery across the nation. Nowadays, the water is still sold throughout Russia. It's just produced 1,000 times faster. It only takes around 20 seconds for the water to flow through to the plant, and the factory bottles up 10 million litres of it every month. And it seems they've branched out into 1 or 2 other products as well.
Okay, now this is what I'm talking about, the soda tasting room. Oh. Oh, wonderful E numbers. There's just too many. Oh, what the hell. Well, they make 6,000 bottles an hour. They're never going to miss them.
Refreshed and revitalised, I was soon back in Penza, but I had a serious sugar rush to burn off. And where better than at the local pool?
So if you watch the show, you'll know just how big a fan I am of all things extreme. So what could be more hardcore than a swim outside in the middle of winter?
Oh my God, this guy's crazy!
Okay, so it's 30 degrees in here, but it's the thought that counts, right?
Maybe splashing around among Penzan housewives doesn't exactly count as particularly extreme, but if you do have a taste for adventure, there are 1 or 2 places you can visit.
Back when this area was nothing but forests, there were regular skirmishes between the soldiers of the Tsar and local and nomadic tribesmen. Now, of course, the further away you could kill your enemy from, the better off you were. But that took practice.
And the art of dealing death from a distance is still alive and well. Dmitri is the chief instructor at this medieval-style shooting club.
James, this is an older weapon, a sling.
It's more like it.
In the past, they were made out of wood, and this is a modern version.
Loading up a catapult took me back to a misspent youth. But it did take me a while to get my eye in.
Just in case you do ever find yourself in the forest with a catapult, and a bear does walk out in front of you, probably best just to leave him alone, otherwise you might make him a little bit angry.
I was ready to try out something a little bigger, and Dmitri and I moved on to the archery range. Although I swear the sights were off on those bows.
We miss by quite a long way. Down a little bit.
But after a little practice, things started to improve.
Oh, yes!
Oh, good shot.
See, second time's a charm, I guess, in this case.
It wasn't a Robin Hood performance, but at least I was regularly hitting the target now.
Nicely done, James. You're a quick learner, but we have a more powerful weapon for you.
The final test was still to come, and this weapon I'd only ever seen in movies and museums. And it's a pretty deadly piece of equipment.
This one is even more effective. The crossbow can be fully loaded well before it's used. Anyone with a loaded weapon can hide in ambush, waiting for an enemy or wild animals. The weapon is used for hunting and fighting. It is still popular to this day.
So it was only appropriate that we had some authentic forest game to aim at.
Wild boar take down with one of these, and it just so happens that we have one to have a go at. Okay, my porky friend. Let's see if we can... Oh! Bacon sandwiches for everybody.
But of course, you should make sure that your prey is really dead first.
I think I've definitely found my weapon of choice. So, I've learnt how to enrage a poor fake bear and kill a poor fake pig. I'm ready for war.
Now, I just needed to find some people who might be able to make use of my newfound skills. Where would I go about doing that in Penza?
So now these look like a motley band of fighters. I knew that weapons training was going to come in handy. Здравствуйте.
Hello.
Greetings.
And who are you guys?
We are a fighting squad. We're going to do the rounds in the forest. There are plenty of bad people hanging out there.
Yevgeny and his brothers in arms are members of Penza's oldest medieval club. For more than 18 years, they've been recreating battles, adding to their armoury, and creating some very fetching costumes. And after some intensive sword fighting, we were ready to head out on patrol.
Gentlemen, are you ready? Yes, let's do this.
Apparently, there were rumours of Tartars in the forest. But where were they hiding?
It was my great honour to die for my brothers. Oh, hang on a second. Oh, I think the chainmail caught the worst of it. That's lucky, eh?
And through miraculous advances in 13th century medicine, everyone else was able to make a full recovery.
Well, there's got to be some upside to medieval warfare. And I guess if you're going to get stabbed, beaten up, and covered in mud, this is what makes it all worth it. No.
My friends, glory to Russia.
Slava!
It had been a pretty intense start to my travels in Penza, and I reckoned I'd earned the chance to eat, drink and be merry for a while. I was just hoping for a few rather more sedate activities around the corner.
Is that so much
of the taxpayers' money? I mean, yeah, but real quick here, because
the global arms business is booming. Do more arms, not less, endanger the world's security. Obviously, events in the Middle East are top.
Hungry for the full story? We've got it firsthand. The biggest issues get a human voice, face to face with the newsmakers on RT.
Life in Russia would be so much brighter if you knew more about someone from first impressions. Meet friends.rt.com.
After spending a fair bit of my time in Penza getting wet, cold and out of breath, I was more than ready to visit somewhere which got me out of the snow.
So when you're dealing with a long winter, of course you need plenty of things that you can do indoors. Like this. Now, pool, I know pretty much all the rules too. Even though I'm not all that great at it. But the Russians, they've got their own version that they're rather fond of.
Let's do this.
Meet Hamlet. Not in this case a prince of Denmark, but the undisputed king of Penza's Russian billiard scene. The former champion is head coach of Russia's under-18 billiard team, and he's had plenty of success.
Over the past 4 years, they have achieved impressive results. Some of them take part in national and international competitions. I also teach kids here.
The game takes elements from both snooker and pool, but it's considered to be much more difficult than both, especially when you're trying to pull off shots like these.
Oh.
I wasn't going to attempt anything quite that flashy, but I thought I could at least master the art of breaking.
So apparently the idea is I've got to hit the bottom right-hand ball here and see what happens.
Oh, bravo.
And the knock it in from 20 centimetres stuck.
You can get it in from that far away from the pocket.
After such success, the game itself held few fears, and I was ready to challenge the master. But apparently the master had other ideas.
I'm going to play with Valia. This should be fun.
Except it wasn't. Not one bit.
This is getting worrying.
Valia moved round the table like a seasoned pro, and I was left trying to remember exactly what I was supposed to be aiming at.
Okay, so you can use the red ball to pop the white ball, but you can also use the white ball to put the white balls and the white balls to put the red balls, but then you have to take away a white ball.
I was getting seriously behind, and obviously with my level of skill, it had to be the fault of the table.
Why? Why would you create a game where the pockets are obviously too small for the balls? Impossible!
And then, with horrible inevitability, it was over.
Fine. I think I just got hustled.
With my ego severely bruised, I slunk out of the club and back to my rental car. I needed cheering up, and I knew one place where it wouldn't matter if I drove like a maniac.
One thing that I've never really got used to in Russia is driving in conditions like these. When the roads are snowy and icy, it makes it really difficult to control the car. So it never hurts to get a little extreme condition refresher course.
Hello, Sergey.
Hello.
This is your school?
Yes, this is a safety driving school.
Sergey is a professional racer and founder of Penz's Safety Driving School. And if you want to know how to handle your car in winter, he's your man.
James, now I'm going to show you how you can stop your car from skidding. There's a technique to it. You need to learn to use the handbrake as well as the steering wheel in such situations. To begin with, you keep your left hand on the wheel and your right hand on the handbrake.
Of course, Sergey made it look incredibly easy. But would my Chevy and I be up to the challenge?
Your turn now.
Let's have a go. All right, time to run the traffic cone gauntlet.
Admittedly, we did up facing the wrong way a couple of times, but Sergey is a patient instructor, and I was beginning to get the hang of things.
Right, God, this is tougher than you expect, actually. Because I'm just being an entirely boring driver. I'm really used to driving with two hands. So, getting one to do the job of two is the toughest bit of this whole practice.
Ease off the accelerator.
Yeah, and can I get through the gates? Success.
It wasn't elegant, but it was effective, and after a few circuits without incident, I was ready for more.
A so-called police turn will help you get out of trouble. When the car spins out of control, the driver freezes up and just holds onto the wheel, waiting for the car to stop. But there is a way out. You simply put the car into reverse, drive back quickly, and turn the wheel. To start with, we need to step on the accelerator Then press the clutch and make a sharp turn. And now we're back to normal.
Okay, right. We have some dramatic driving music for this manoeuvre. Lady Gaga about being chased by the paparazzi. Just that'll do. Whoa!
Молодец.
Woohoo!
Молодец.
Well done.
Yeah! There you go. Once my brain kicks into gear. I'd managed to pass the course. And you never know when these new manoeuvres might come in handy. So, there you go. Now I can dramatically weave my way in and out of the Moscow traffic. And if the police come after me, I can just escape. Perfect. But I couldn't hit the road back to the capital before I'd picked up a few local keepsakes. And in the Penza region, that means glassware. These might be a little pricier than your average souvenirs, but this region is famous for its lead crystal, and this museum has a collection that goes back more than 200 years. And according to the curator, it's particularly historically significant.
Now, James, you can see this unique collection, both in terms of age and content. It can well be used to study the history of glassblowing in Russia and the rest of the world. Although it originated in the late 18th century, it is still being replenished.
And of course, before it can be transformed into something beautiful, the raw materials need to be assembled.
Out of this mixture, we make crystals. It is melted under 1450 Celsius.
Although the workers here are famed for making valuable pieces of art, there's also a lucrative souvenir business. And head glass blower Andrei was ready to share some secrets with me.
Spin it! Spin it!
There's about 900 degrees worth of molten glass there. And I've got to keep it rotating so that it doesn't fall off.
Speed really is of the essence here. Otherwise, the molten glass quickly falls out of shape.
And the most important bit. Whoa! Cool. Well, I'm reliably informed that this is going to turn out to be a bunny rabbit. Maybe Andrei can do a little bit of rescue work.
Once the body actually looks like a rabbit, the designers can add on finishing touches, and then the piece is baked in the oven to solidify. And a few hours later, it's ready for the shops.
So I may be slightly lacking in innate glass-blowing talent, but Andrei is a patch-up master, and we have one highly realistic Penza rabbit.
My time in Penza was almost up, but I was still hoping to catch a little more culture before I went. And the legend of one man still dominates the local theatre scene.
This house was the childhood home of one of the real greats of Russian theatre. But Vlod Meyerhold revolutionised the way people thought about acting and stage direction in Russia and the early Soviet Union, and his techniques are still practised here today.
Meyerhold moves sharply away from classical theatrical practice, abandoning stage curtains, making actors perform without makeup, and encouraging improvisation. And here, in his former home, a company are following in his footsteps.
So I'm guessing this might be the equivalent of a Meyerholdian Christmas panto. They come into the middle of the rehearsals here.
Switch the Bach music on.
See what they got to.
Shows here attract visitors from far afield and often sell out weeks in advance. Sadly, I didn't have time to stay and see one, but Natasha had another surprise for me.
James, I have to make a confession. I like you. And our actors like you too. Come on, I'm going to show you something. This theatre has no parallels in the world. Meyerhold devised it. He introduced quite unusual things. So literally what we have here is a house production. Every show takes place here, at Meyerhold's personal home. He was a different person. His attitude towards life was quite bizarre, and here we have to prove it.
Meyerhold's masterpiece was considered to be his version of Gogol's The Government Inspector, and it turned out that Natasha's troupe were just one baritone short. Well, it wouldn't be proper theatre without a little bit of discourse on the pain of the Russian soul. I hope Meyerhold would have approved. It was certainly a memorable end to my trip to the Penza region. I time-travelled to the 13th, 19th and 20th centuries in the space of 10 days and made it back in one piece. If you're a fan of history, nature, or simply want some top-class entertainment, this is a great place to visit.